Hello, my friends, and welcome to Dance How I Want to Real Talk.
I don't really give a, I'ma dance how I want to. I'ma dance how I want to. I don't really give a, I'ma dance how I want to. I'ma dance how I want to. I don't really give a, I'ma dance how I want to. I'ma dance how I want to. I don't really give a, I'ma dance how I want to. I'ma dance how I want to.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'm your host, Bryan Leigh Smith, lifelong dancer, positive thinking enthusiast, and ultimate cappuccino connoisseur. So I have a very special guest today. This woman is a songwriter. She's an artist. She's a businesswoman and a mother. Please welcome Miss Cheri Moon.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I am Cheri Moon, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. And can't wait to see what's going on.
So I invited Cheri here today because she's a true artist who juggles many roles, and she always seems to be true to herself. And I know that we can learn a lot from her. So Cheri, I know that you started your career in music in the pop industry, and now in more recent years you've been working on kids music. Can you tell us a little bit about your artist journey?
Well, I started out in New York doing more, I was more into fashion, I was doing a lot of modeling and stuff, and then but singing and music was my main passion. I come from a very musical family, coming from a gospel background and singing in church every weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And, having friends in New York and, doing some singing there. But then I got introduced to Timbaland and Missy Elliott and that whole crew. And that kind of changed my life because I wasn't necessarily a writer, or I hadn't written anything. But when I started working with them, I just couldn't stop writing, that was the moment I became a songwriter as well as a singer and a performer, because I've always performed all my life in school and at church. But I was in the pop music industry for a very long time, working with different artists and writing as well for different things, and doing a lot of background vocals, which was really cool. And that for me was kind of like my schooling. That was, my teachings, because I only had a few years of college. So that for me furthered the education for me of what I truly wanted to do, being a part of that crew. And then, I got into doing some background vocals, doing writing, and I was in a girl group for a long time. We had a publishing deal, all this stuff. And then I actually started doing jingles and commercials. And that was kind of by mistake. And that was a world unto itself, So I learned the ropes there. And that was fun. It had its fun moments. Of course, everything doesn't really go the way you want it to go all the time. But, it was definitely one of my learning experiences. And I feel like was very imperative to where I am today. So, when doing jingles and doing commercials and voiceovers and, still being in the music industry for a long time and writing, all of that stuff, really prepped me to, for a versatile career, a diverse career, I'd say, in the music industry and television and things like that. So once I became a mother, my whole mind kind of switched, kind of like a, and I started writing all these kid songs and start thinking about more kids content and shows and things like that. And that was amazing as well, and so I have been a little bit more focused on that, even though when I had my first daughter, I still was writing a lot of dance music, and I was still performing in clubs, I had a 1-year-old daughter, and I was still out in the nightclubs performing at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, in like these, fun outfits.
So
and then I went to Europe, and I had a few hits in Europe, and did some shows there, and got I got signed to some labels over there, did some music videos, and got onto rotation with MTV and had a whole thing, and that was great.
Wow.
And I had to and by that point, by the time I went to Europe, I actually had my second daughter. So I had two daughters that I dragged to Europe with me while I was doing all of this, and it was just crazy. I don't even know what I was thinking.
You were dancing how you wanted to.
I was definitely dancing how I wanted to, for sure.
One thing when I first met you and knew what you did and saw your family, I was so impressed. I was like, wow, because being an artist also, like, I always have, you know, because of the industry and like being young is like the cool thing, you know, supposedly, I always worried about like, well, what happens when I grow up? I'm not going to be able to be Ryan anymore. And so being able to watch you really showed me like this can be done. You can be an artist and you can have kids and you can have a real life of a queen and still be true to your artistic self and be an artist.
Well, I think that, you know, a lot of women have struggled in the past with, you know, doing and being what they want. And still being a mother, you know, because, you know, as mothers, we feel guilty that, you know, we're doing these things and we still have these aspirations and these goals.
Right.
You know, but, you know, I mean, I think a lot of things have changed in our society, and a lot of women have kind of passed the point of like feeling like they have to suppress their goals and their aspirations that and their dreams that they haven't even reached yet, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, they're embracing, you know, having a family, as well as still staying on the path to their dreams that they've always had, you know, and that's kind of where I am, you know, even today, you know, it's just like, you shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself to be a mom and, you know, and sacrifice what you want to do with yourself, because then actually what is that teaching your kids?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, well, now I have a kid, I can't sing, I can't perform, I can't do it. No, you should still be able to do these things and fulfill whatever it is that makes you happy as well. Because a happy mama can provide for and make happy kids. That's what and a happy family. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So.
And then that goes with our topic today too, is being the powerful you. Like, you can't be your true self if you're not feeding yourself and doing the things that make you happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to. The thing is that it starts with yourself and it starts within, for sure. You know, I mean, a lot of people think, oh, well, if I do this first and I do this and then I'll be happy. And if I do this you know what? You have to start with yourself and build from within out, and then everything else just takes on a world of its own. You know what I mean? I mean, for me, projection is the best I can put it, because if you can find it in yourself and find ways to create happiness and be happy within yourself, and you know all that, and if you're in a happy place, then you actually naturally, without doing anything, you're going to project that upon, that energy is going to be projected upon everybody else, you know? And that's truth, and that's true happiness. I'm not saying that there won't be miserable moments. I mean, we all have miserable moments, even in the middle of all this happiness we're talking about.
Yeah.
We still have moments that don't necessarily satisfy us, but that's life. That's called challenges.
Yeah.
That's called trials and tribulations, as my grandmother used to say, you know? Like, you have to have those challenges to even further who you are.
Right.
You know, like, people don't get to where they are because they didn't have any challenges. They had tons of challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always taught that anything that comes easy might not be worth having. Anything that's worth having takes work.
Yeah.
You know, so... you know, and I think, I hope, I've never really set out to say, oh, I'm going to, you know, teach my kids this, and I'm going to be, yes, I have things I want to teach them specifically, but I guess just from my natural evolution and my natural passions and desires and dreams and goals, and they just see me constantly going after what it is that I want. So if they don't see me doing something, but they know that I want to do something or whatever it is, they'll come to me and they go, well, Mommy, why don't you do that? Oh, why don't you do that anymore, Mom? Why don't you do that again?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I appreciate that. It brings tears to my eyes, because, you know, there's nothing more than a little bit of encouragement from people around you, even if it's the smaller people.
Well, they're the closest to their soul, their true self. Like when you're a kid, you really are true to yourself. You're really just you because you're not scared of what people are going to think or say.
Yeah.
So I think they're the best people to get advice from. And you've raised some amazing ladies.
Well, I try, you know. It doesn't always work out.
It's working
You can't
out.
do anything but try. But no, I'm very, very lucky with my kids.
I want to.
Cappuccino break. This podcast is brought to you by Dance How I Want To, Bachelorette Parties, and Snook Nook. Okay, so you mentioned a couple of names that are ringing in my ears. What was it like working with Timbaland and Missy?
Well, they're the same in so many different ways, but they're really different in a lot of ways as well. It's so funny because they came from the same place and they've worked together since they were kids. But I mean, it was an amazing experience. You know, I mean, I worked with Timbaland more than I did Missy. Missy was more hands-on when we were when I was in a girl group, and she was going to be, you know, one of the main writers and basically producing this girl group, and she wanted us to take over the name Mary Jane Girls, basically. So we're doing showcases and things like that, and that was so fun. And she was just amazing, you know, just witnessing the both of them really in their element, in the studios all the time. I mean, like I said, that was my schooling, and that's what taught me so many different things as a writer, as an artist, as a recording artist, first and foremost. Yeah, I mean, all my tricks of the trade, you know, really came from those moments with them in the studio. But, you know, I mean, Timbaland is not, he was always not shy, but, you know, he's just not a very outward, you know, personality. But I so enjoyed just watching him do his thing, you know, and every moment that I got behind that microphone when he was there, I was just like so happy to be there and be able to actually be a part of it. You know, doing a lot of backgrounds and, you know, stuff like that. I mean, that's really, I mean, you have to understand that was my first recording experience.
That's so amazing.
You know, I've never been in the studio before. I've never recorded before, you know, so everything I know and everything I learned came from them.
Wow.
Which is quite amazing and stressful at the same time.
I'm sure. But I mean, that's like going to Harvard for recording school. Being with them.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I consider myself so very lucky for that experience. You know, just all of it prepared me for everything I was going to do in my life. And, you know, working with, Jimmy Douglas, who was another entity who was, you know, pretty much like the main entity of that whole group. He was the engineer, mixer, master, you know, everything. And he helped with getting the deals, maneuvering, you know. So it was a whole, I mean, that whole crew was just incredible. And I mean, Jimmy Douglas was more like, he became more of my mentor and still is today, really. I call him about everything almost.
Cool.
You know, so it's really funny how that all worked out. Of course, again, everything is not perfect all the time, but, you know, it's definitely an experience I don't ever, you know, regret, or, you know, like I said, it really has made me the artist I am today.
Yeah.
And, you know, just being around them as well, you know, working with so many different upcoming producers under them, you know, as well. And just, being in the factory, because that's basically what he was. You were in a factory, like, of writers and producers and, you know, singers, and just creating all the time. And the work ethic, man, is just incredible. So, yeah, I mean, really, if work ethic is, like, a number one. Number one.
And being in that industry and being around, you know, yes, it's exciting and all the excitement, and being around the cutthroat business of like the competition. How did you navigate through that and remain true to yourself? Like, did you ever have to stray from being yourself to fit into something, or do you feel like it was easy to just be who you are in that?
No, I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I mean, sometimes you find yourself straying from who you are because you just want to be what is needed for the time. You know what I mean? Especially as an artist, it's like you become one of these entities that's there to fulfill a spot or a space for this moment of what's whatever the need is. So sometimes it could feel like that, and sometimes you might get caught in that for a minute, and which I did for a minute.
Yeah.
Especially in the pop world, because we're talking about when all the girl groups were booming. It was TRL, sensations, and it was just so, oh my God, just so pop. Which was great, it was fun, but yeah, I mean, every time we went somewhere, it was kind of like if we did a showcase, or if we did a performance, or we showed up somewhere, the label, as a group. It was always, you were always criticized heavily, and that could be very challenging and very hard to deal with, especially if you don't have thick skin.
Yeah.
Which some of the girls in the group didn't have thick skin, so it's really hard to kind of come back from that.
I can't even imagine being in that time of pop, and like, was Destiny's Child out then?
They were just about to boom, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, we were in that whole world. We were working with all the same producers, which is really funny. Well, we never really actually released an album. We recorded all these songs, did all these writings and recordings, worked with all these major producers, and then at the end of the day, we did not release an album. And
so what was that like for the group?
It was devastating.
Yeah.
It was devastating because it was a lot of work, and then you have all these moments of like, wow, this is happening, I'm being flown here, I'm in the studio with this person, you're doing everything, and then it doesn't happen, so it's the disappointment for, a young girl can be very, very, heavy, so you really have to have the mental, capabilities to be able to move past that and fast, and reinvention is the key.
I know you have your daughters and they are into the arts. How do you prepare them to like deal with the pressures of the industry and being true to themselves?
I would say the number one thing to teach a young kid is self-esteem. High self-esteem, self-awareness, being positive, and just, boosting that is, man, that's I think that's really the most important thing, because no matter what they do in life, if they feel strong and powerful within themselves, they can do anything. It doesn't matter, industry or not industry, or lawyer or whatever.
Yeah.
Wherever their passions and the road may take them, I think that's what they have to keep, and that's what's going to keep them afloat, or else you drown.
Yeah.
You drown. There's just so much in this world that just keeps toppling on top of you all the time. Yeah. And if you don't know how to maneuver and keep your strength up, and keep your mental capacity there, it's just it can be overwhelming. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, and they give up, or they get depressed, or they the things happen. The one thing that someone told me, who is Jimmy Douglas, who is my mentor, said, whatever you do, don't get out of line before it's your turn. And that is something that just stuck with me. I love sayings like that, because I actually just repeat it to myself. I think about it in those moments.
That's
because
such a sweet saying.
Yeah, because it's like, you worked so hard, and some people work and then they work and they work and then they quit. Yeah. You're never gonna get there if you quit. It's over if you quit.
You're right.
But if you're in the game, you can win.
Yeah.
So that is the most powerful thing for me.
You know what? I am right now reading Think and Grow Rich, and he was just telling a story about a man who was out here. Came to California for the gold rush, so they tell some really old stories because it's an old book. But he came out here and they were digging, and they were looking for gold, and they had a little trail of gold, and then they lost it and they couldn't find it, and they couldn't pick the trail back up, and so they sold their digging equipment to a man, like a junkyard guy that owned a junkyard. Well, then that man hired an expert to come look at the site that they were at, and 3 feet down, after they had already dug so many feet, 3 feet down, they struck major gold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I love that saying, don't get out of line.
Yeah, before it's your turn. Baby.
Yeah, I've definitely quit writing at certain points. I mean, because, well, then I wanted to do other things or life, but I still have that desire. Like, it's not going away.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been 3 or 4 years since I released anything, but it's not, that desire doesn't go away.
Right, no, it doesn't. I mean, it takes a lot of focus to, stay in one lane, you know what I mean? Especially when you're capable of doing so much more, many things you can put on me. But I feel like a lot of people are doing a fantastic job that I admire of putting on these different hats and then balancing their lives. I don't know how they're freaking doing it, but, I'm like, kudos to you. I said, right, yeah, something. Because I'm trying it, and some things I'm doing well at, and some things I'm not, and I'm like, okay, you know what? It ain't gonna be perfect, but we gonna try.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Cheri, can you give our listeners and some fellow artists and dancers some advice on being their true self?
I think being your true self, in order to be your true self, you should definitely know who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you happy. It is then that I think that you can make others happy, and you can fulfill so many different, shoes and different roles, like we say. I think that when people don't have a center and they don't really know themselves is when they get, it's a little messy, and you get confused. You're easily confused, and all of these things. So I think, really, again, knowing the core of you, knowing who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you not tick, and all of these things is really, I think that's key.
Yeah. Yeah. And while you were saying that, I had the thought of all the different times that I have been lost, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because having that moment, I really learned who I was. So, just if you are out there and you're feeling a little lost, it doesn't mean you don't know who you are, but this is part of your journey to finding that.
It's true. That is true. That's a good point. Because even sometimes, yes, when she said, if you feel lost sometimes, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually lost. It means that you're taking a moment to figure some things out, and which is okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because some people think that, because they feel a little bit of uncertainty, or they're a little bit of confusion, that they take it as a massive hit to themselves. And it's not necessarily true. I think that, you can take a moment. It's like taking a breather and trying to figure it out, And I think that's actually important. That's a healthy way of living, is taking a break, taking a moment. Let's take a moment.
Yeah.
Guys, let's take a moment. I wish I had told myself more of that when I was younger.
Sometimes I've also noticed, especially in dance, when I do take a long break, I come back thinking I'm gonna suck, but I come back better because I needed that break.
Yeah. That's usually what it is. I mean, breathers. Boy.
So, Cheri, you mentioned something about kids music, kids company, and media company. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I started this venture called Snook Nug, and I just, I started writing these kids songs and producing all these different kids products, and it was to inspire kids to teach them life lessons. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, I just kind of started making up these songs, and they were to kind of just create happy times with her. And then I just found out, actually, when I had her and we were going through our day and things like that, that it actually made me happy as well. Having these songs to sing, to teach her, and things like that, because we, as moms and parents, when we're teaching kids, you're teaching them the same things over and over again. You're repeating yourself over and over again, and it can be a little frustrating, let me tell you. You know, so I found that these songs actually help because just like, you know, learning the ABCs and teaching them things in school, a lot of the times they catch on easier if they're in songs. And, you know, so, you know, coming from a songwriting background, it was easier for me to create songs just about anything. I mean, I can write a song about anything, literally.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, I mean, so I used that and just, you know, that became my thing to do with the kids. And, you know, it just, boy, it changed days. Oh my goodness. I mean, it will change a moment from like going into tantrum mode and it being a complete disaster to like, you know, like a happy moment. You know, I'm not even kidding. So, you know, I felt like, well, if it could do that and I can use these songs and it helped me and them, you know, other parents and other moms could use these tools, I call them. It's like, you know, with the first album is for babies. So it starts with like, you know, a good morning song and it goes from potty training to washing your hands and brushing your teeth and just simple things, eating your vegetables, going to grandma's, sharing, tantrums, taking a bath, you know, things like that. But the second album goes into when they start school and they're starting to have more interactions with other kids and social awareness and being adapt to what's happening around them, listening. Like, so the second album is more like, okay, patience, listening, trying again, never quitting, never talk to strangers.
I feel like I need these songs.
We all need these songs. And then I have a song, you know, about, you know, teaching them about people, the fact that people are different, which I feel is so relevant even right now. Teaching them that people come from different backgrounds and upbringings and things. It may look just different, but you know, we're all people, and you know, we share the earth, and you know, so just really important lessons that you just kind of like want your kids to learn, you know. And I find that when they sing the songs, it just kind of gets stuck in their head, and it's just fun. I think for me, if it takes them on a journey, it takes me on a journey while I'm with them. Take me, please.
I have a feeling that so many of our listeners need this and their kids need it. So where can they get the music?
Well, it's all online. It's all on Amazon Music, iTunes, of course. And we also have a playlist on Spotify, so you can find it anywhere. You can just tell Alexa, "Hey Alexa, play Snook Nook."
Snook Nook.
Yeah.
And we'll have the link around.
Yeah. Just fun. I mean, any parents out there, you have to take a listen. It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
They're very good. I remember the first one I saw, I think, was about brushing your teeth, and it was just, she's amazing.
Well, it's so funny because I did a hygiene DVD, like a DVD with just all hygiene for kids, and I really like, you know, channeled like the NC Hammer time with the big pans and like, you know. So we just try to make it so fun, and you know, but at the same time they're learning. So like, you know, my thing is like it's called edutainment because we're entertaining them, but they're having fun at the same time. And then the parents are in; they get into it. I can't tell you how many people have said, "Oh my God, we keep listening to your songs in the car. It's like on rotation. It's hilarious. It's really funny." Yeah, but you know, kids are so inspiring though. Like, I mean, when they get older and you know, they're able to communicate, and especially if they get into arts and they're so creative. I find it really interesting, you know, talking to them and listening to their ideas. I mean, it's really funny what comes out of their mouths and, you know, how they view the world and how they view everything. So, you know, it really has opened up a different part of me for sure as an artist. As a person too, I would have to say, but I love it. Like even with the album, I brought kids in to sing in the studio to do backgrounds and voices and things like that, and just that was a whole different experience, recording experience, having the kids doing that. You're trying to do harmonies and having to do voices and things. You know, there's so much fun you can have with trying different things and watching them do it because they enjoy it so much. They enjoyed it more than I did. Not more than I did, but just as much as I did.
Yeah.
You know, so even seeing that part is inspiring for me and makes me happy. So yeah, I do enjoy it. It is another side. Not saying that I don't love my pop side. I love the pop side and the pop music and all that stuff, but I also love, you know, working with the kids too.
It's so amazing. And yeah, it's a different it's a different role. We have lots of roles to play.
Yeah, man, it's really funny. You just never know where life is going to lead you, because I would have never thought I'd be here doing that specifically. But boy, I really enjoy it. I really want to not only produce music and do more of that, but I also want to produce shows. So I want to produce, animated shows, maybe some live action shows, and things that are, but all built around, created around fostering positivity with kids and life lessons, and just some type of learning experience, but in a different manner where they actually are allowed to be creative at the same time. So I'm really, that's kind of like my path with that. And I don't feel like I should just stop with just recording music and doing live shows like I'm doing now. But because I go around to the libraries and you're just everywhere pretty much. But I feel like there's more to be created. I think there's a gap with stories and things to teach kids and entertain them.
And on a global level too, like everybody needs that. Everybody.
Well, especially now, I feel like a lot of people are trying to find ways to teach kids even about social awareness and just different issues that we have in the world today with race and all of this stuff. So I feel like if there's a way that we can introduce these things at an earlier time in their lives, I don't think it can be too early for them to start learning these things. So even as toddlers, if they're seeing things on television and iPads and apps that already put in their minds that these things are normal and natural, then that's what they're going to grow up thinking and believing, So, and I feel like maybe there's not enough of that in the media that we're showing the younger kids in the toddler world, So I think that, if we can do more of that, that would help. Because I think it starts early. All of these preconceptions and things like that, it starts early.
Cappuccino break. This podcast is brought to you by Dance How I Want To, Bachelorette Parties, and Snook Nook. Cheri, it has been such an honor to have you today. I have learned so much about your journey and about being an artist and being myself. I have 7 magic questions, lightning round. Are you ready?
Lightning round. Ding, ding, ding.
Let's get her a buzzer. Okay, here we go. What makes you get out of bed every day?
I think the number one, my kids, and also just knowing that I don't think that I'm finished yet. I don't think God is finished with me yet. So those are the things.
She's got work to do, you guys. Okay, how does dance make you feel?
I love dance. Dance can make me feel very free, and I just, sometimes when you just have fun. I like to lose it in the moment, so I love dancing.
Me too. Okay, how do you psych yourself out before a performance?
Well, I love positive affirmations. So that's, I love doing positive affirmations, period, no matter what, before a performance or whatever I'm going to do. But I actually like, before a performance, a shot of tequila.
Score! We'll be backstage with her. Okay, how do you prep yourself before work?
It depends on what work I'm doing, but again, positive affirmations go a long way with me, because I just feel like, sometimes I don't have the energy. If you don't have the energy, sometimes, and gosh, there's been many times where I just don't have the energy, and then after I kind of psych myself out with these affirmations and whatever, and then I really get going, and when I get there, I'm like so pumped, so yeah, that's kind of how I prepare, depending on what it is, but yeah.
I love that. Affirmations will change your life.
Yeah.
What is your favorite fashion trend right now?
I love big baggy pants.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I love harem pants. I recently got a couple of pair of pants from Barcelona and down in like the alleys, and they're just like full of prints and just big, and I just love it because it's so comfortable. But you can also make them super fashionable by dressing them up or dressing them down, putting on accessories. So I mean, I probably living them all the time. I love it.
I need to give you some of those.
Yes.
How can dance help us tap into our individuality?
Well, I think the dance can help us tap into our individuality by really making a certain dance your own, you know? Like, I mean, yes, I've danced in groups and taken dance lessons and things like that in New York and whatever. But I never really consider myself a dancer, but I can dance. But however, when I was a kid, you couldn't tell me nothing, girl. I was on the streets dancing until like 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Me too.
And I just be having dance battles and this and that, and it's just so much fun. But yeah, just making things your own, and that was really what it was about in those battles. Like even when you watch dance battles now, it's about how they make those things. They can do exactly the same thing, but it's how you do it.
You're right.
You know, that makes it distinct.
They're like being themselves.
Yeah.
So good. Can you give us just 3 steps that can help us tap into being our true selves?
Find your center. You know, really work on yourself every chance you get. You know, like really just making yourself as strong and as, you know, whatever it takes to get yourself, you know, strong. You know, because you are the foundation of you. You know, and everything you do. So. And I don't know. I mean, I think just kind of assessing different situations, and again, taking that breather if you need to, and not just kind of like if you need a moment before jumping into something, think about it. Nobody says you have to do anything, you know? Like think about it and figure it out and see if it works for you. You know, don't succumb to a lot of pressures. I feel like a lot of people get, you know, drowning is my thing, because you know I feel like people drown when they get into certain situations. You know, figure out whether you think it's gonna work for you or not. Take a moment. You know, if that opportunity, I'm a huge fan of like, if it's for you, it will be for you. Yes. So if you need to take that moment and you need to take that break, then do it, because it's gonna be there no matter what.
You're right.
So you know,
if it's meant for you, it's meant for you.
Yeah.
Well, Cheri, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Can you please tell our listeners where they can connect with you?
Well, right now I'm really focused on doing a lot of kids content and kids media and working with kids. I really love working with kids. So my company and my artist name with my children's stuff is Snook Nook. So on Instagram it is My Snook Nook, on Facebook is Snook Nook, YouTube channel. We're producing a lot of different shows, and hopefully some more actual, you know, webisodes and things like that will be coming your way. And we're producing music and just a lot of stuff. So Snook Nook on the kids. If you have kids, Snook Nook should be your go-to. All right. And I'm right now still working on some more pop music, and you know, so that will be under my original artist name, which would be Cheri Moon. Yeah. So you'll be able to get a lot of that stuff either on YouTube or Instagram as well. And I'll be releasing some new songs for that too, which I'm super excited about.
She's such a cool artist. She's got like crazy hair and like the coolest fashion.
I love
obviously.
fashion. I just love expressing yourself any way you feel. So I'm just like, I just love it. So whatever comes to mind, we'll see. We'll see where it takes you.
Yes.
Right?
Listen to your heart. That's what Cheri's going to be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Miss Cheri, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for coming.
This podcast was brought to you by Dance How I Want To Bachelorette Parties. If you're in the Los Angeles area and looking for an awesome bachelorette party, hit us up at dancehowIwant2.com.
I'm a dance how I want to. I'm a dance how I want to. I don't really give a. I'm a dance how I want to. I'm a dance how I want to. I don't really give a. I'm a dance how I want to. I'm a dance how I want to.